Shut up and sit down.
My BC class. Have you seen me yet in my BC class? Get your tools out, you can come and tweak these sets. I got a vicious cycle, I'm riding it right though. The places that I go, the kids go psycho. Grips in my hands, rolled under my feet. One day we'll be taking over the streets. The raps get brought out, the jumps are up, you get easy.
You are listening to the Dialed Podcast with Matt Legrand,
Sir Ian Gibson,
Lance Hepler, and Jake Von Turing. Here is another Chinese proverb for you. A crisis is an opportunity riding in dangerous wind. If life is crazy upside down for you, make sure you always look for that opportunity. It's there somewhere.
Gold frame, pedals to match. This beast is thinner than a model and the wheels don't detach. So saddle up, got a seat that's made of leather and velvet. Purple flames painted on the side. I see you in helmet.
they think you're some kind of healer.
I'll handle it, Lois. I read a book about this sort of thing once.
Are you sure it was a book? Are you sure it wasn't nothing?
Oh, yeah.
Hi, welcome back to the Dial Podcast. I'm Jake Von Turing. I'm here with Lance friggin' Hepler.
Lance friggin' Hepler.
In
Hello.
studio.
I'm right here in studio.
What's up, your happiness?
You know.
Good to have you in studio.
I made it. I didn't leave the house for like 4 days, so I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. You need to stretch your legs, get out, see the outside world.
Hey, guess what?
What?
That's me.
Sitting to his right.
How do you do?
Sir Ian Gibson. How do you do?
I do good.
What up, Gibbo?
That's good.
Very well, thank you.
Cool. And last but not least, everybody's favorite, Matt Legrand.
I don't know about favorite, but what's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? You guys look favoritastic. I don't know where I'm going with this. Where are we going with this podcast, Jake?
That works. I don't know. Let's go into some backpedaling. Who's got some backpedaling to backpedal?
Yesterday was day 99.
That's
That is.
correct.
I think.
Yes.
That's because I
Today-
only read, like, I scroll through Strava or whatever, and I see other people's posts to figure out what day it is for our challenge. The challenge is ride 100 days in a row, an hour or more. I've been doing the hour part, but not the more. Very, very strict.
It's like 1 hour and 1 second.
In the entire
done.
100 days, I've probably biked 100 hours and 30 minutes or less. I mean, it's like nothing more. I was out riding with David Goodman. I don't remember. I think maybe this past weekend. No, it was this past Friday, and it was sunny. It was gorgeous or whatever. And then like we get back, and it's like an hour and 5 minutes, and I'm like, dang it, Goodman. I can't be putting in this extra time, man.
Too much extra
Old man's
time.
going to have to take a nap.
So today is the last day of your season then, pretty much?
Of my season.
Yeah. Yeah.
Season's over. When are we doing this challenge again? I'll see you guys next year. Yeah. So I think the only outdoor ride I did was that ride with David Goodman. We did a nice little route where we went past Lance's house.
Yes.
And then we rode around on like the Evergreen Highway thing. There was actually this like little, I thought we were going to have this weird connector piece that I had never done before. And it turned out to just be like this little loop, but I was still quite happy with the extra little piece that I had not done before. Whenever I bike with Jake, it's been a while, but like whenever we used to bike, we'd always be like, I don't know where this goes. Let's go check it out. And,
all the time.
And it was that just like ride around and get lost. One of my favorite things to do. But other than that, a little bit of swimming and a little bit of running, not a lot. I think I ran 3 miles yesterday. Things are going okay. I'm surviving at this point.
Good.
I did not swim today. I was going to, but trying to get a video out the door.
So today's your 100th ride. Are you going to do anything special? Or is it going to be on the trainer?
Maybe I'll go for an hour and 10 minutes or something.
Pizza.
So I do know that teammate Randy Frost put something on the calendar for everybody that's doing the Dialed 100, and they're doing it tonight. They're leaving from the lab, and I think he's got about an hour-ish long route that's planned. I think it's a 2-bridge looper kind of thing.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
I think there's a handful of people that are going to show up to that are actively doing the ride. So you should maybe consider doing that.
I'm already like, I don't even know how I'm going to get my hour ride in. I'm double booked tonight. There's like a meeting in Portland I'm supposed to go to, and then I've got track practice. So let's wrap up this podcast,
Midnight
guys.
roll. Yeah, let's roll.
Gibbo.
Yes, I went bicycle racing again this weekend. Yeah, it was truly awful.
You're selling it for the people.
It was horrible. No, I was out at Hag Lake for the Banana Belt road race. Usually that's such a cool course. It's a great race. The weather just fell apart. The rain was supposed to hold off, but it didn't. And as we pulled into the parking lot, it was just throwing it down. The warm up was just dreadful, just getting pre-soaked with rain.
Geez.
You remember racing Kings Valley all those years ago?
How could I forget that? How could I forget?
That was what it was like. And the same thing. I was totally hypothermic. At the end of it. Yes.
As a matter of fact, I texted Ian and said, "Hey, how'd the race go?" And he said something like it was freaking terrible, worst experience of my life. And I'm like, oh, kind of like Kings Valley a few years ago. He said exactly.
I was. You get past the point of shivering where your limbs are shaking. You can't get your cycling kit off. It was.
Yeah,
there was a lot of DNFs.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And I was so close. It was 4 laps, and I came through on the penultimate lap past the finish line, and it started raining even harder. And I'm like, I could make it stop right now, but
oh my gosh,
just stayed on. Anyway, race recap. It was spicy. A smaller field due to the weather, I guess, was probably 30, 35, 30.
You raced with the 40-year-olds?
No.
The 50-year-olds?
50, 345s, and 60 plus open. It was part of the Pacific Northwest Cup Series. So there was some guys, some hitters coming down from the Seattle area, plus our own hitter teammates.
They're the worst.
Oh, they're the worst. Well, yeah, right.
They're fast.
It looks like there was only about 20 people in the combined field.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's really small for that race.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people. There was a lot of DNSs. People that had signed up and didn't show up. But Chris Hannell that guy is so strong.
Yeah.
There's 4 laps around the lake, and when you come across the dam, which is about a third of the way into the lap, and then you take a left and you go up this short, sharp hill, and it's probably only 5 or 6%.
It's a little bit more than that, but it's about a minute and a half, 2 minute climb.
It's about a minute and a half.
Yeah.
Minute 15.
Just
climb.
enough to create some separation, and it's just steep enough to where like you can make people hurt a little bit, and it kind of hurts. And if people surge, then if you're not ready for it, you can get put in the wrong spot.
But there's almost nothing flat out there.
It's up or down, yeah.
No,
it's
but
all rolling stuff.
It's all rollers, but when you're in the group, the momentum kind of carries you over most of those rollers, except for this.
That one on the back stretch back there.
Yeah. So we were going up there. I was going up there at 500 watts or so. Every for a minute, and then Chris Jojo, the whole time he's looking over his shoulder, going to make a move, and he attacked off the front. I got to say 4 or 5 times.
Sure.
And when he finally got away, I think everybody just breathed a sigh of relief. Like,
thank God that guy's gone.
Thank God that guy's gone. Okay. We can just chill out. And we were chilling. It was getting colder and colder. But anyway, Hannell had gone. I stayed on. It's, behind you. You're trying to draft, but every time you get behind somebody, you're getting a face full of water and dirt. My glasses were fogged up, so I took them off, and then I was getting water in my eyes.
And you can't see.
Couldn't see. And my legs were feeling like lead. Yeah. My muscles weren't working.
When you're doing a race in conditions like that, it is so hard to make the right decision for the clothing, because as the old adage goes, there's no such thing as a bad weather. There's just bad clothing choices. But when racing happens, that's different, because you don't want to overdress and like blow up. You don't want to underdress and have like the whole just like freeze to death kind of situation. So, I mean, is it better to like err on the side of being a little overdressed, a little warm, and a little heavier in that situation?
I don't know if I could have done more. Like, I had my Gabba rain jacket on. And that thing is warm and water repellent, let's say. It's a great garment for racing in. But even that, I don't think I could have, I guess I could put another layer on.
Sure.
And it would not have been too much. But again, it's like your body is trying to keep the core warm, I think.
Sure.
And the blood just leaves your working muscles and your legs feel like crap.
Those are the 3 things that are the most important in that situation: is keep your core as warm as you possibly can, because that will keep your extremities a lot warmer. I mean, that's just science. And then the other thing is like protect your hands and your feet as much as you possibly can, because if your hands are numb and you can't feel anything, that's A, dangerous, and B, it just sucks if you can't like shift or feel your bars, and like it's just terrible. And then if your feet are just like completely turned into icicles. You can't feel those either. Like, this is stupid. So try and keep those as dry as you possibly can. So like a good set of Velotos over like something that's going to keep a little bit of insulation in there. That'll work well. Then get yourself a good pair of like, waterproof gloves. And then the core, I mean, you just got to try and keep yourself dry and warm without going over top.
It was hard. I mean, it was raining so hard, and that was the deal. My core temperature was going down, so my legs stopped working. And then, so I got over that climb. I say a climb; it's just a short ramp, really. But like I said, it was 500-watt efforts, and the last time up, my legs just would not respond. But I think, looking back at my own performance, I think I'd already kind of admitted defeat at that point. Like I was just trying to get by. I'm like, I'm not going to make it up this last climb. And sure enough, a gap opened up and I couldn't get on it. So I came in. First of all, there was Chris, Joey Jojo. I don't know how much lead he had over us in the end. A couple of minutes, I want to say. And then there was the main group. And then there was us probably 30 seconds behind that. And then there was the stragglers.
Yeah.
And then there was all the did not finishes. But, fair play to Travis. He put on a great event. It just didn't work out this year. And
that's just the way it goes in the Pacific Northwest in the springtime. You never know what you're going to get. It
You
could be a
don't know.
beautiful 70-degree day and just absolutely perfect, or it could be that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in hindsight, I think Handel probably had the best idea, because he's not dealing with all that road spray. He's not getting all the grit and the grime and the extra water put on top of him. And yes, he's going to get the rain, but you're not getting all that extra stuff in your face. And then you're working a little bit harder, keeping your core temp up a little bit more. And if you get in that position, you've got the right mindset. Ian's blowing up over here. It's probably Handel telling him to stop talking about him. But if you get the right mindset,
he wants in on this conversation.
Make it happen, then you're in a good spot. So,
well, yeah, he had the right idea, but he's got the horsepower to back it up. Like if I had that idea too, but it wasn't going to happen for me. I was already on the limit, and that was the amazing thing. There's a lot of us were on our knees, and he just like all casually just rides off the front. And casually, I would say he was pretty casual about it. Chris never really attacks. He's not like a explosive attack. He just rolls off the front. Then
and
he
he'll
looks
do it
behind.
enough times.
Is anybody with me? Nope. I'm gonna keep going then.
Yeah, he's amazing that way.
Yeah.
Good job, Handel.
Sandbagger.
Handel won. Our other teammate, John Hatfield, took second, and another teammate,
John took third, yeah.
John Hatfield took fourth. David Barna took second.
That's right.
Yes.
Good job, Barna.
So
that's a good result for him. And not that he's slow, but that's fantastic for him. I love to see that, because that guy, he rides a lot.
He rides a lot.
Yeah. Super strong guy, too.
Yeah, and Ian's being humble here. He took second in the 60 field, even though he got dropped or whatever got dropped means in quotation marks.
Yeah, I knew Ron, I forget his last name. Yeah, he was leading the 60 plus for the Northwest Cup. He's come down from Seattle. Very strong dude. Great guy. Met him in Arizona when we were down there. And but yeah, second, great. There was 7 of 8 of us.
There was 7. There was 7 in the 60 plus field. Yeah.
It's better than 7th place. I mean, better than 3rd place even.
That's all right.
Anything else?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey, quick question for you. Are you someone who wants to be fit, healthy, and happy? And what if I told you you could get your dream body by simply just listening to a podcast? I'm Josh.
And I'm KG, and we're the hosts of the Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast.
Listen, we get it. Fitness isn't easy. Carbs, no carbs.
Just stop, okay? It doesn't have to be that complicated. And that's why we made this podcast. We get straight to the facts so you can become your best you.
So the way to check us out is click the link in the show notes or search Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast on any of the major podcast platforms. We'll see you soon.
No, I don't know. I've been keeping my riding going. I'm still up at 98, 99 CTL. I'm keeping the volume going. I'm back in the gym. That's it.
Cool.
Yeah, that's all I got to say, basically.
Hepler, you did some bike racing.
I did do some bike racing just to complete the Banana Belt story. I woke up Sunday morning with an option to go do Banana Belt, saw the rain, and said, F that.
Nope. That's a hard no.
It was a hard no. It was kind of tenuous whether I could get away to do that race anyway. But I did spend like 3 or 4 days just at my bedside with my wife as she was recovering from the surgery. And so that took a little bit more than I was initially anticipating. I thought, I'll be able at least to get on the trainer. I couldn't even do that for like 3 days.
Really?
Yeah.
I was worried about you. I kept looking on Strava. I'm like, where's Lance?
Where's Lance?
3 days.
Yeah, it was a lot. Well, every time I think, okay, I can go do this, and then there'd be something that she just needed help with. Those first 3 days were harder on her than she anticipated. So, and we all kind of didn't anticipate. So, Mudslinger was the mountain bike race that was on Saturday, and I actually told all my teammates, "Hey, I'm not going to make it. There's no way I'm going to be able to like disappear for 12 hours because that's what it would take. Because I'd have to drive down there, do the race, wait around a little bit, and then drive back. And so I didn't think I could do it. And Saturday, it was Friday night. I'm like, Brandy, I'm just not going to do the race. She's like, well, did you already register for the race? And I'm like, yes, I did, but don't worry about that. I'd make my, donation to the race promoter occasionally. And she's like, no, just go do it. You're going to be miserable if you stay here. And I'm like, it's just a bike race. There's another one next week.
Were you reading between the lines? She's like, Lance, get out of here. I'm tired of you.
I think it was more that. So I've said, okay. So I woke up that morning and again checked with her, and she says, yeah, go do it. So I jumped in the van and buzzed down there with like no preparation and no like pre-ride, which I normally do. But Mudslinger was an odd year this year. It was sunny and dry.
Stark contrast to the Banana Belt, yeah?
Yeah, so it was the day before the Banana Belt, and it was 70 degrees and sunny down there. And this race is never... The joke is that every 7 years at Mudslinger, they have a dry race. So the next dry race won't be for like until 2032 or something like that. So it was... But I went down, showed up, and we had a few teammates there. He only had about 200 people racing, which was a bit of a bummer.
It's a bit light for that race, and given the fact that it was such a nice day.
It was such a nice day. Mike Ripley puts this race on. His whole promotion company is called Mudslinger Events, and it's named after that race. And so he said, all you people who tell me, hey, I'll do Mudslinger when it's dry, you're all a bunch of freaking liars. Because it's dry and only 200 people pre-registered. So... which was a bit of a bummer for him. But, 3 days off the bike, my legs felt fantastic, but my fitness is not quite the same as it was. And I started with the Cat 1 field, which is where I'm having to start this year. And, I could hang for the first 4 or 5 miles, and then I just slowly got dropped. I never actually felt terrible. I actually felt like I rode really well. And I rolled into the finish and saw that I finished 8th in the 50-plus field and was thinking, oh, man, that's actually not too bad. And then I found out there was only 9 people in my field. So I was...
Ian, it could be that right there,
So I was second to last, and I'm like, oh, my gosh, I got kind of smoked. But the race was great. We had a bunch of teammates who did well. Our junior teammate, Evan... Halbleib, I don't know how you say his last name. Anyway, Evan, he's 17 years old, lives down in the Corvallis area. He took 2nd overall.
Good job, Evan.
Yeah, so he crushed it. He did a great job. The race was won by Felipe Nystrom, who is a local elite rider who's been around for like a decade here. And Evan just couldn't quite hang with him for the full 2-hour race, or hour and 48-minute race it was for them. So, but still, he did great. A 58-year-old took 3rd place.
Oh, wow. Who?
Jonathan Myers.
Okay, well, he's crazy fast.
He's
but
crazy
still,
fast.
58. Gosh,
and
fast.
Myers was an elite racer for a decade or something like that for a long time. And so, but he's 58, so he's racing in the Cat 150-plus field, which is where he should be racing. But he raced really well down there, so that was kind of exciting.
Cool.
So, great race. I didn't feel too bad afterward. Just frustrated that I'm not gonna have results to speak of really this year, which is all good. So,
well, for what it's worth, and I've told you this before, when you go out there and you have like a mid-pack Cat 1 finish,
yeah,
I'd be much more proud of that than beating the entire Cat 2 field by 2 minutes.
Yeah, true, but it's not as fun.
It's not as glorious, not as fun, but it also gives you something to work at too.
It does.
It's like, all right, well, what can I do to go from this position to this position? How do I get on the podium? And what races can I then identify that really suit my skill set the best? And really focusing on those as opposed to just going out there and, mopping exactly, and killing everybody in every race.
Clearly, the glory for me is more motivating than the opportunity to improve.
That story is fun. That feels good, but that's a story that you've played quite a few times.
Yes.
With your new glorious YouTube channel, this will be a fun little adventure for people to follow.
Yeah, to follow along. And see
your channel's
It's true.
great.
Like 90% of people who go to these races never see a podium. Anyway,
No, that's true.
You gotta.
Actually, doing the YouTube videos is making the story more interesting,
Right.
Because I'm not just riding away from the Cat 2 field. Which, and I shouldn't be in the Cat 2 field anymore. I'm clear about that.
Yeah, and if you were still in there, you would be getting heckled like
Yes.
nobody's business.
Oh,
That's
tier
great.
3
You're
Hepler?
yeah,
right. Here we go.
Yeah, again, good storyline. So,
Yes.
and not for nothing, I'm enjoying watching this on the YouTubes. Not just because you're one of my best friends out there. It's because you're doing
good.
a great job with them. You're doing good, and the storyline is fun. And I get to see what Hepler's up to because I'm not out there racing with you, but I also get to watch and see how you're growing.
See how it's going.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. So.
What's the subscriber count?
I'm at like 640
You're
or
gonna
something.
hit 1,000 soon.
I'm working on getting to 1,000.
1,000's gonna be cool.
Yeah.
And considering you started with almost none and you just started doing it this year, that's fantastic growth. That first 1,000 is always super hard.
It is really hard.
If you're listening to this, go to YouTube and check out Lance's videos and give him a little subscribe.
I need the subscriber. I need the click on subscriber. If you're listening to this and you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please just
get on it.
Just click the subscribe button.
You need watch time and subscribers.
I've already got the watch time.
Okay, you're good then.
Yeah.
Make sure you go into the comment section too and heckle them a little bit.
Yes, please. I respond to the heckles because I don't have that many respond.
And reference the podcast so that we know that you're actually listening too. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah,
and then maybe we'll do something for you. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, fun times.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
I'm still trying to train and do some things, but again, it's limited because of my wife at the moment, which is totally fine.
Yeah. That too will pass, and you'll
Yes.
be back after it. So, not for nothing, you probably needed a little bit of a break just to kind of let your body regroup.
I probably did.
Yeah,
but it was more than I wanted.
Cool. For me, not much to report. Did a bunch of Zwift stuff.
Did you go out?
However,
okay,
I did ride a bicycle.
Yes.
Outside.
Was it that day?
I rode outside.
Was that Sunday? I don't know which day it was.
Saturday.
Saturday.
Matt invited me to go on a ride outside.
It was a last minute, like, I got to go now.
Well, we used to do that all the time, and
it is what it is,
generally love doing that kind of stuff. Oh, yes, absolutely. I want to stop everything I'm doing right now and go for a bike ride because that sounds fantastic. However, I'd already committed to my wife to go run some errands and yada, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. Anyway, it was last Thursday. I showed up to the flogging ride. It was a season kickoff ride. And because of the way that it worked out and because I told our good friend and colleague at the lab, Paul, that I would hang tight and make sure that we waited for him in the A group, I kind of put myself in a corner and I had to ride with the A group and I wasn't quite ready for the A group, at least mentally I wasn't. So anyhow, we sent everybody out. It was a beautiful day. So I'm kind of surprised that the numbers weren't quite as big as they were. Or actually, they're smaller than they should have been, basically. I think we only had like 20-ish people show up. And usually, like for the season kickoff, you'll see, I don't know, 35, 40, 45, 50 people sometimes. And this time it was just a little bit light. And it was funny because a lot of people felt like, compelled to come tell me like, hey, I'm so sorry I couldn't make it. This was going on. That was going on. And I think it was just one of those things where, like, I don't know, the stars weren't aligned for too many people and they just couldn't make it. But anyway, it was still a good ride. We still ended up having a decent A group and had a really decent B group as well. And once we, reconvened and had the second half, that made for a fun second half as well. But I did not die.
You hung.
I did not die, and I hung.
Of course.
But it was the first half. We were going out there. I'm like, I'm feeling a lot stronger than I was thinking I was going to feel. And it was there's a one longer-ish kind of climb going up that Hawkinson crawl, I think is what the segment's called, on 292nd. There we were going at a pretty good clip. As a matter of fact, I was off the front for a little bit. And I don't know if it was what the circumstances were behind. I think it might have been somebody like held up at a stop sign and didn't turn even though they could have. And I got some separation. But anyway, long story short, I was off the front for a little bit and like, this is surreal. This should not be happening. And everybody catches back up to me. And then we've got a teammate who Ian's been coaching. And Ian,
Quit coaching so
Quit
dang
coaching
well.
people to be so damn fast.
Wait, let me guess. Tom?
No. Gin. Holy crap,
Quit
is he
coaching
getting
so many
fast.
people that are also so fast.
To be honest, Jin's not with me right now.
Oh, he's
anymore.
not. Well, you did coach him for a little bit, right? You did
Yes.
work with him? Okay. And maybe you just got him up to this cruising altitude that he's at now, and he's just crushing out there. But anyway, we were all going on at a pretty good clip, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he just drops a freaking nuclear bomb on us and just goes flying by. I'm like, well, that's great. We'll let him go out there and dangle. But I'm like, if everybody tries to respond to that, I'm not going to go with that because A, I don't think I can, and B, I won't be able to finish the second half of the ride. And sure enough, 3 or 4 people went and responded to that. And I'm like, I have to let them go. And if I can, if they settle down and I can, potentially bridge back up. And I knew that there was another group that we had dropped of the other half of the group. If they came back on, then maybe I could work with them. But I was kind of stuck in no man's land and never truly caught up to them. Anyway, I let that go. But the second half, we did all of our things and everybody went super strong. And I did fantastic on the ride until we got almost home. There's like one last hill. And I usually love to crush up this. And it's a little road called Lake. And it's a nice little climb. How long would you say that is?
Half a mile.
No, it's a little bit longer than that.
Is it more than that?
It's a little bit longer.
It's
about
of a mile?
3/4 of a mile,
Maybe.
but it's a decent little grade. But it's not like super steep, but it's just steep enough to where you kind of have to put in a bit of a dig. I usually will go up at that somewhere between 450 and 550 watts, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
And that's good enough to create separation. And I can even attack and then create gap and then come over the top. And then it's just a long time trial before we get to the downhill section to where that's where the fireworks happen, right? And sometimes you can get that breakaway and just make it stick all the way to the end. I was trying to kind of hold the pace at the front, and we got about 3/4 of the way up, and all of a sudden my legs were like, you're done, buddy.
Oh, no.
Both quads cramps. I'm like, and so everybody starts to go, and Jen even was being super nice because that's just how he is. He come rides up next to me and he's like, let's work together, catch everybody up. You got this. I'm like, nope, I'm done. You keep going. I'm actually going to peel off and go home. And so he's like, all right. And so he just naturally just catches right up to everybody. And then we're on the top of Lake and it's flat. And I'm like breaking cramp. And I'm thinking back in, it was about 2.5 years ago when all of my hip issues kind of started to happen. It was when I did something like that. I'm like, just go slow, spin it out, let them shake them out. And I was coasting all the other stuff. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to ride home nice and soft and easy. And then I have one last steep climb to get home. And every single time I go home, it finishes with this stupid 400 and something foot climb and over a short period of time. I'm like, all right, just going to go super slow, super slow. I pass the road where you go to Matt's house and my quads are crampy, cramp, go up a little bit further, cramping even more, get up to the top or almost to the top where it's at the apex of the steep climb before it levels out just a little bit. And I'm like, I have to turn around. I literally turned around.
You had to turn around.
And coasted back down and went down Matt's street. And I'm like,
you should have come over to my house. I would have given you a ride home.
I was struggling to get off my bike. And once I got off my bike, I'm having to hold my bike and trying to unlock my quads. And I'm like, somebody's probably looking out their house window going, what is this idiot doing? And I finally got them to settle down enough to where I could sit on the grass and just laughing at myself. I'm like, this sucks. And I'm like, all right, I've got to do this. Get out the phone. Wife, can you come pick me up? She starts laughing at me. She's yelling to the kids. She's like, I told you if your dad was going to call, your dad was calling. If it was him calling, it was because he wanted me to come pick him up. So.
Oh, I would have gotten you home and you could have just not said anything as you walk in. Yeah, no. That would have been.
So... But that whole thing, I think it was part because my body just wasn't used to that kind of intensity. And then the other part was I went back and kind of started thinking things through from the whole day. I'm like, yeah, I really didn't hardly drink any water today. And I went into, it was a really busy day at the lab. I didn't eat very much. And then I was running around trying to get everything ready. And you kind of get out of practice of doing that when you're just conveniently walking in and jumping on your trainer. And then all of a sudden you got to be race ready to go do this kind of a ride. And so I'm trying to get everything ready again. Everything was perfect. And I didn't miss anything. And I was able to get out the door in time and made it down there in time. And I'm like, oh, there was that one thing of food and water. I didn't do any of that stuff today. So.
My guess is it's probably more muscular fatigue than it was food and water.
It was both to a certain degree, but the muscle fatigue part of it, that was probably more.
Yeah.
I'd probably say it was 60 or 70% of the issue there. And that'll sort itself out in due time. But my God, was I sore for the next 5 days?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. And through the night, my calves were cramping. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I could make this stop. But anyhow, that was my triumphant return to riding bikes outside. And it was fun. It was glorious. But
man, are you going to do it again?
Yeah, be out there tonight.
All right.
So unlike yourself.
I cannot go tonight.
It's going to rain.
It looks like it's, yeah.
Yeah.
Looks questionable.
Is it really supposed to start raining again?
It's supposed to start raining
Turn
like
around.
3.
Yeah, turn around and look outside. It looks like it's
Jesus.
From
pending.
like 3 to 8, there's supposed to be rain tonight. Yeah.
All right. Well, enough of that.
I did it with nothing but my own blood, sweat, and tears, and extra blood.
People don't. Yeah. You know, this is a sport with literally hundreds of dollars on the line and dozens of fans. The stakes are medium.
Come on. How do you beat the man on drugs if you're not on drugs?
Wait, did you just admit to being on drugs?
The EPO Chain Mail. Send us a text with your questions. Forward this podcast to 15 people, and you'll lose 10 pounds overnight without even trying.
You've got mail.
Deal. Hey, Champ Bailey's running a little bit late getting here. We'll touch base with him in just a few. There were so many people though that sent us EPO stuff. I just want to make sure we got all that in before
go
Champ
with the chain mail.
got here and talked our ears off about
Champ's
bike racing
taking a
stuff.
crap and then
He'll be a while.
he'll be a while.
All right.
Backed up a
So let's jump into the first one. It's funny because we asked for a bunch of people to respond and the people delivered. They gave us lots and lots of stuff. So we'll try and get through this stuff as quickly as possible and have fun with it. And I think we'll have to count up because I'm not sure if some of these sent multiple things. I think they're all going to count in what we say 20. We'll do a live podcast.
That's right.
Something along those lines. So who knows? Maybe we hit 20. But anyway, let's start with the first one. How good is entry level now? If I buy an affordable bike, how good is it versus higher quality bikes of the same or of the past?
Good question. Yeah, that is a good question. Entry level bikes are good and have great because even entry level components are very good.
That's what I was thinking about too.
They're just heavier than the more expensive stuff.
So if you are comparing like the entry level bikes of today with, we'll just use this for sake of an example. Let's say you get like yourself a decent like an O2 level frame with like rival group set on it, which would be akin to like the 105. It's going to have a certain amount of weight to it. Like if you take that same build and you go back, I don't know, 15 or 20 years,
it's like top of the line.
It's like top of the line.
It's top of the line. That's what the top shelf stuff was weighing at that time. So how good is it?
I think that it's interesting because I always think of like Shimano 105 as kind of the entry level component set, and they have a electronic 105 now and a regular 105. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. The problem is when I think it's a big price jump from electronic to the regular. And the weight difference is there, but like electronic 105 is probably really good. I haven't ever ridden it, but like I assume like it's gonna connect it's gonna be crisp shifting. I mean, it's mechanical. I mean, it's not mechanical. It's electronic, so it's gonna shift pretty rock solid. I mean, that's a great set to consider for people. I think it's like $1,000 extra.
Yeah, I was going to say 105 is not entry level, really.
Yeah, you're probably right, especially when you get the electronic 105. But
for the upper tier stuff, like your tier 1 stuff, that's going to be like the bottom part of the entry to the top tier. So
I guess so. Yes, there's the weight penalty, and also they probably don't in a lot of those group set materials are not as robust, so your components may wear out quicker than they would
potentially.
But then again, most people never realize the shelf life of their components. Like your group set is still going strong, and then you upgrade. Most people never put enough miles on to even see that difference.
3 years later, they're ready to try something different if they're into cycling.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I think integrated cockpits are something that you would not have on an entry level bike, and I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I mean, I feel
okay.
It's just totally okay.
It's weight. It's weight.
But it's also like with that, I feel like it's slightly older tech. It has a different feel to it, but I also feel like it's more adjustable.
Yeah, I was going to get into that as well. If you're newer to the sport and you're getting into an entry level stuff and you don't really know what your fit truly is, it doesn't take much to adjust it just to make your fit feel much better. But if you start right out the gate with a one-piece cockpit, you're going to find yourself spending a lot of money to get another one-piece cockpit maybe once or heck even twice, depending upon how your fit progresses.
And then I feel like it's just more compatible. Like you can just like this like stem and this and all these little things like, oh, I'll just change this, I'll just change that. And it's like all easy breezy when you don't have, the latest, greatest integrated system.
Yeah.
Kind of like that with TT bikes where you're like, you work on this bike and it's a nightmare. I feel like I feel like entry level bikes are just easier to work on in a lot of ways.
Sure.
Anyway. Yeah.
It's kind of like the difference between working on like a
Yep. Well, like a Ferrari and like working on like the Honda. It's like, oh yeah, everyone. It's easy work on the Honda. It's easy to get parts, easy to do all these things. Yeah.
Correct.
Anyway. We gotta keep moving on this because we got a lot.
Yep, the new stuff is good, so don't disclose it. I mean, not disclose it, discount it. Make sure that you you get into something that works best for you. Don't feel like you have to go whole hog and go crazy.
Yeah.
All right, the next one, and that was from Portland, Oregon. The next one comes to us from Joplin, Missouri. Try Carbs Fuel Gel. Good nutritional flavor. 50 grams of carb per gel for $2. Best value out there. Right now. So
that's probably in response to our Martin Gel conversation.
Yeah. So,
awesome. I love hearing about new prices.
Yep. Have you guys tried Carbs Fuel Gels? No.
I haven't tried it.
Haven't either. So
that's good to know about.
Good to know for sure. All right. Moving on to the next one coming to us from Vancouver, Washington.
All right.
What is your biggest cycling pet peeve? Mine is tinted driver's side windows. So I guess that would be a pet peeve as a cyclist.
What about
not being
people
able
that
to
chew loudly as they...
That's a pretty big pet peeve too, yeah.
What if they're chewing loudly with their tinted windows?
Man, I can't even see him to punch him in the face.
All right.
But yeah, as a cyclist and having to interact with motorists and not being able to see them because the windows are too dark, that is definitely a pet peeve worth having. So
yeah.
What do you guys have as far as pet peeves are concerned?
It's just people who pass me too closely.
On cars or cycling? I mean, this person wasn't specifically talking about cars, I don't think, but just as a cyclist in general, that is definitely a big pet peeve with the cars as well.
What about, have you guys ever like been out, like, like given a decent effort or whatever, you're on some flats or whatever, and then you just like realize that there's someone on your wheel? Like, has that ever happened to you guys?
Just get a free ride.
Whoa! Like,
where'd you come from?
Let me know, bud. I don't care if someone gets on my wheel and like, but like, just like a hey, I'm here. Like, communicate.
That has happened to me a time or two.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah. And then when I realize somebody's there, then I start pointing stuff out. Like,
right. Yeah,
there's
like,
a rock
I'll
here.
help you.
Yeah,
I'll
help you.
I'm
you
happy
can sit
that
on my wheel. I'm fine with
exactly.
that.
But just like a hey, thanks for the pull. Like you could say anything. I don't care what you say because I'm all on board. I'm like super pumped that someone's on like there. But like it's so funny to me that they're like secretly there.
Once you find out they're there, how often though do you all of a sudden kick up the watts just a little bit just to see if they can hang?
But also, I just feel like there's this initial shock of seeing that they're there that's almost like scary. Like whoa, like and then you're like. Then you kind of get back into position and watts go up a little bit.
Yeah. What about if said person sits in your wheel and then they come around you and then you're like, oh, that's cool. That person just passed me. And then they only come around you just to like exert dominance or show you that they're all this and that in a bag of chips. And then they get off the front and then all of a sudden they start to slowly drift back. And you're like, all right,
if you see them,
you got to pass them again. You're like,
you turn around and like looking at back to see where you are. And you're like, oh, that's not good. That happened to me the other day. There was just like someone that was out on McGillivray or somewhere. They got ahead of us, and then they were just like starting to fade, and we're like, "Oh man."
Yeah. When is it good? When is it safe to look back? Like if you actually pass somebody doing that,
don't look back.
Don't look back.
Don't look back.
Yeah.
You can just kind of sneak a glance between your arm or something.
Look for a shadow or listen to this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
That's a good one too. Do you have any other pet peeves?
Yes, I do. I have one that bothers me very much. It's people who have headphones or earphones in, walking in the middle of the lane and cannot hear you coming.
Like a hiker or a walker or something.
Usually a hiker walker.
And then you come by them after yelling 15 times that you're on their left, and then they see you and they jump out of their skin.
So mad at you.
Yeah, because you exist.
We just don't know. Are they going to just inadvertently turn left, or are they walking a dog and the dog is going to shoot left? It just, if they can't hear you, they can't. They don't know you're coming, and that bothers me. Yeah. So then I try to buzz them as close and fast as possible.
Just like those cars that I also
don't
piss you off.
Yes, also.
It's totally different though.
Yeah, that's
totally different.
What about riding in groups? You get the people that everybody's taking polls, and then you get a person that comes to the front and they just will not peel off, and they'll take this pace from 23, 24 miles an hour, and all of a sudden you're doing like 18, 19, and it's like, dude, peel off. If you can't hold that peel off, you're killing us here.
Right?
Does that bother you?
That does bother me. Yeah, especially if we're all trying to move at a certain pace. Yeah.
Or people that start cutting in certain spots or never, I don't know, just good group riding etiquette is as a pet peeve of mine. All right. That's a good question. I like that. Do you guys have anything else or should we move on?
Let's move.
All right.
Next person. We got a lot to get through.
Exactly. The next person asks, thoughts about doing a live show at a race like Wahoo or a cyclocross race. And an interesting point about this one is this is coming from Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Interesting.
I think we could do one at a race. We've talked about actually like kind of being like announcers at the race and talking through, I don't know.
We could definitely do one live at a race. There would be the actual PA announcer over the top of us. So, and music playing over the top of us.
That would kill the podcast.
Which would make it difficult for them to hear us.
And races are loud.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Fun.
That's an interesting idea though, but you'd want it to be like a short track race and not like a cross country race where you only see them every 30 minutes.
A cyclocross race would be fun.
Yes. Lots of noise too. But that would be fun.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. The next one is more of like I think just a ringing endorsement of something I said in our last podcast. Eddie Team Trial sounds great. And that's coming to us from Camas, Washington. So I was the first time commenter. So I think that would be popular if we put that out there.
It's gonna happen.
An Eddie Team time trial.
Michael Myers Memorial Time Trial will have an
Eddie class.
Eddie Team class.
Yeah.
We'll make it happen.
Sweet.
Yes.
Love it. All right. The next one comes to us from Salem, Oregon. And they say best places to use. Wait, hold on a second here. Best places to use mountain bike training within an hour or so of Vancouver. Reading that verbatim. Seems like most of the other closer places I can find are multi-use paths, Rocky Point notwithstanding. It's a bit farther to drive and not super practical during the week. So, Lance, you're probably our best resource here. What are the best places for doing some mountain bike training within an hour of Vancouver, Washington?
Well, Lackamas Lake does have a few trails.
We were talking about going into Round Lake. We got to do that.
So they're just not long. They're not long. But if you loop several different trails, you can get mountain bike training.
But you can also, I feel like if you're doing intervals, like you could go do a warm up. You can go down, down like Heritage Trail and do all that. And then if you wanted to do intervals at Round Lake spot, then you could be like, I'm going to do a 2-minute interval. And you could also probably make that into a loop.
Yeah.
And that would be pretty ideal.
We do a Wednesday evening ride during the summers on mountain bikes in that area. And we generally find some spots where we can do quote unquote interval sets.
What's the place out by Sandy? That's got to be less than an hour.
Sandy
from
Ridge
here,
is more
right?
like an hour.
Sandy
It's called
Ridge?
Sandy Ridge.
Yeah.
It's more like an hour and a half from Vancouver. Rocky Point is in 45 minutes from Vancouver. You have the Yakult Burn area, Cold Creek area, which is north of Vancouver. In the Yakult area, that's less than an hour away. Yep. And there's lots of good trails out there, some very good stuff. And that's it.
Okay.
Those are your options. Yakult, Lackamas, Sandy Ridge, Rocky Point.
What about Tarbell? Would you consider that a good place to train, or is that
it's the same as Yakult? That Cold Creek.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all in that same area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. We'll call this one the last one. It's Dialed 100. Ride 100 of 100 came through this morning. Thanks. This was good motivation to get the year started. And that came to us from Connecticut.
I like doing it January 1st. We used to do it. We used to do it in the fall.
So the times I did it before, and let me explain why in just a second, but it would start like mid-August and it would end on Thanksgiving. So we were being thankful. Yeah. I did this one year. I started, and I did not set out to ride 100 days in a row. Yeah. Just randomly, I decided that I'm going to ride I want to do like, I think it was like a full month or something like that. And then and there was a reason why I was doing that at the time, but I wanted to ride every single day. And I gave myself parameters of like, you got to ride for at least an hour. It's got to be every single day. Let's see if you can black out a month on the Strava calendar. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, well, let's just keep going because I'm feeling pretty good. And I went for another one. I'm like, what if I finished and just did 100 days in a row? And by chance, it finished. The 100th day was on Thanksgiving. I didn't tell anybody about this. I just was doing it on my own thing. I'm like, well, that was kind of cool. And then a couple of years go by and I did this before I started the Dialed Cycling team. And then a couple of years go by, and I'm like, I'm going to do this again. Who wants to do it? And there was a bunch of people like, me. I'm like, fantastic. And so I figured out everything. I'm like, all right, we're going to finish on Thanksgiving, and we're going to do 100 days in a row. And it worked out really well. Did it again the next year. And then I ended up riding for 501 days in a row, which was completely stupid and idiotic. But it just ended up being kind of a fun thing. And I thought a couple times, like, all right, maybe we should change it up just a little bit, have it finished on New Year's Day.
Oh.
Which would be kind of fun, and that would force you to ride through the holidays. But that's really hard riding through the holidays. So
true.
Putting this all into perspective, I think starting on January 1st makes all the sense in the world.
I like it.
You don't have to worry about like travels with holidays and all that other stuff, and you get to like have fresh, clean state to start over. How that actually plays out with a training program, though, if you're following a training program, I mean, you can make it work.
It still could. It just your rest days aren't as restful.
Well, yeah, you just have to go really slow. You're just like soft pedaling for an hour. So anyway, I like it. So good idea. Good job on Randy Frost, too, for taking the bull by the horns. This was 100% his idea to start on that date and made it work for 100 days, and it finishes today. So
I know there's quite a few people I've seen. I'm only like scrolling Strava, and I don't have everyone in my groups of people in Strava. So I've seen a lot of people that are just like 98 of 100 or whatever.
Fantastic.
So people are doing it.
Well, I guess a testament to making it work while training and racing, Joey Joe Jr. Shabadoo, Chris Hamill, he's doing it as well. And look what he's doing.
Does he do any training though? He's just fast.
Well, he gets some,
just fast.
He will do some structured stuff on Swift, and he's getting some just the base stuff when he's just commuting to and from work. So
he also doesn't. He also has Wednesdays off, so he does a longer, harder ride on Wednesdays. I've gone with him thinking I'd be okay, and I wasn't.
Not easy.
All right, let's
Champ Alley in sports.
Champ, come out of the toilet.
Champ has cracked his brains out.
He's ready.
No Dorothy Mantooth today. Champ, what you got, buddy?
Dorothy Mantooth.
Okay.
Oh, I love Dorothy Mantooth.
We got to start this by talking about Tour of Flanders. It was a fantastic race to watch, even though I woke up with 120 kilometers to go and rolled back over, went to bed. I still ended up getting up and watching like 4 hours or 3 hours of live coverage.
Was it on Max?
No, it was on Flow Bikes.
Okay.
So
all right. What about Paris-Roubaix?
Paris-Roubaix is on Peacock.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I think that's doable.
So that should be more doable. So, it was a great race to watch. We knew it was going to be a battle between Van der Poel and Pogačar, but Wout hung in there really well. Matteo Jorgensen hung in there for a while, and Mads Pedersen hung in there really well.
Yeah.
But it just, a race that's 170 miles long with like 15,000 feet of climbing or more. Whereas where the first 100 miles of the race only has like 3,000 feet of climbing. All the climbing comes at the end. That's why Tour of Flanders is such a difficult and storied race. Pogačar got away the third time up the Quermont. They go up that Quermont climb like 3 times. I don't know if you've watched the video, but people were 10 people deep up that. There was like stadium like seating and like all this VIP stadium seating, but people were still like 10 people deep all the way up the Quermont. Yeah. It would be so exciting to be there and watch that race, like standing on the Quermont.
You're basically right in the middle of the Belgian farmlands. There's nothing else out there.
There's nothing else out there. It's just Belgian farmlands. But Pogačar got away and held him off. I think he ended up winning by like a minute or something like that.
I read that last time up the Quermont, it wasn't. It looked like Pogačar dropped the hammer and just went faster than ever, but he actually went faster the time before that.
Yes,
it's just that everybody else was fading.
Correct.
So he did punch it, but it wasn't his fastest time up there.
Wasn't quite able to do it. And that right before the last time, Wout van Aert like attacked at the bottom and tried to like give himself a little bit of a kick before the last time up the Quermont, and it just didn't work.
Well, when I watched it, like I turned on, I had to watch it on YouTube, and I got the extended highlights, and I saw that Wout van Aert was injured this year and wasn't racing. And then I was watching the whole race, and it kind of looked like it was unfolding like it did in 2024. So I'm like, that's cool. Van der Poel's won again. No. And then I got to the end of the whole video. I'm like, wait a minute.
That was 2024.
I spent 30 minutes watching
the wrong year.
Watching the wrong year.
That's brilliant. That's a problem of the number on your license plate or your driver's license.
Yeah,
it's your
exactly.
age. That's what it is. Anyway, so Tade wins. It ends up being a 3-person sprint for the rest of the podium, and Mads Pedersen was able to out sprint both him and Vanderpool, and Wout was literally like half a wheel length behind Vanderpool for 4th. So it was a super exciting race to watch. That brings up, Wout did pretty well. He's coming back from his injury, but if you recall the Wednesday race, the Dwars Van Dorden, I don't know what it is. I butchered it, didn't I?
It's good enough.
Nailed it. What are you talking about?
But
you just got to be confident.
Visma Lisa Bike completely botched that race. They had a 4-person break that got away with like 40K to go with Matteo Jorgensen and Wout van Aert, and who else was in there? I can't remember, but and Nielsen Palace from EF Education. So it was 3-on-1, and Nielsen Palace ended up out sprinting Wout van Aert.
He was cramping up a little bit, if I'm not mistaken.
He did cramp up a little bit, and they could have shed him earlier by attacking him, and Wout took the full blame for that, saying, I mean, the way when you're 3-on-1, the way you shed that one person is one of the teammates attacks, and you have to wait for that third person to close the gap.
Yeah.
And eventually he won't be able to close the gap anymore. Right. And usually the person that attacked will have gotten away. And so there would have been a chance if they tried to shed him that Wout would not have won that race. It would have been one of his teammates. His teammates really wanted him to win it because that was the race he crashed in last year. He really wanted to win it, and they thought, no, we're going to be able to outsprint Nielsen Palace on this final, and Nielsen got them. So they took a whole lot of flack and a whole lot of heat for that. And I can't even imagine the kind of pressure that Wout van Aert was under before heading into that race and then heading into Tour of Flanders, for him to win, to redeem himself. Is he actually going to be the Belgian that all the Belgians wanted to be? So much pressure, but so it was good to see that he did well at Tour of Flanders. So I don't have much else to talk about.
Next week will be interesting too. Is it Saturday or Sunday for Paris-Roubaix?
It is Sunday.
Yeah.
So the women's race is on Saturday.
Women's race is on Saturday. The men's race is on Sunday. It's on Peacock. Tadej Pogacar will be there. Wout van Aert will be there. Pogacar, Vanderpool will be there. So big names. This race won't favor Pogacar as much because there's not as much climbing. It doesn't end with as much climbing.
I feel like this race is a survival of like who doesn't break their shoulder, like who doesn't break their ribs,
who doesn't flat, who doesn't break their shoulder. I mean, who can move over the cobbles and not lose time the best. And so
this could end Pogacar's, summer plans, summer Grand Tour plans.
Yeah, if he crashes, it could.
Those cobbles aren't soft.
No, it's not. But anyway, so Paris-Roubaix should be very interesting.
Be careful out there, guys.
Yeah. So
they listen to the podcast.
Of course they do.
They listen.
Any other questions for Champ Bailey?
Before he heads back to the crapper.
He's got to get back on the pot.
Had some bad Taco Bell yesterday or what?
I don't know.
Well, is this a good time to make predictions about Paris-Roubaix?
Yeah.
Who's going to win?
Matthew Vanderpool?
I still think Tadej will do it. But it's a complete toss-up. I really do think it's a toss-up because you just don't want to bet against Pogacar. He's so good, and he pins a number on, and he just kind of feels it. But this race does not favor him as much as Flanders does.
So instead of picking or calling your shot, let's just break it down to two things. You're going to take Tadej or you're going to take the field?
Ugh.
Which one is it?
Oh, if that's the case, then I would take the field.
Taking the field.
I think the field is a safer bet just because this is the type of race where it's like this in like the first couple of days of the tour where everything's just chaos. Like the chaos just means like some random person's going to win.
It could.
So. I think the race is so hard and so unpredictable that the chances of all four of those top guys coming out unscathed with no mechanicals, with no crashes, is virtually nil. So I think at least one of them is not going to be there at the end.
Right.
So I'm going for Wout.
You can take Wout, so you can
Wout's
effectively take the field. I'm going to take the field too. I don't think that Tadej is going to. I think something's going to happen. Hopefully he doesn't crash, but there's just going to be something that happens. Your luck can only run so far.
Stay healthy, please.
Exactly. I think it might be more bike related, but we'll see. But anyway, I'm going to take the field. Cool.
There we go.
All right. Anything else?
Champ out.
Moving on. All right. Our topic for this week actually has two things. Let's jump into these both quickly because now we're at about almost an hour and we got to get through two things here quickly. So
we got to be quick.
First one.
Quick topic.
Why are road races getting so expensive? Ian and I were having a little chat before the podcast started that kind of led into this, but the Washington State Road Bike Racing Championship is coming up. Is it this weekend or is it the following weekend?
Yeah, this weekend.
This weekend.
Yeah.
So that race in particular is quite a bit more than what the average bike race has been. But on the whole, bike racing for road related stuff is starting to creep up there in cost. The race coming up this weekend for the Washington State Road Race is $90.
Yes.
And a lot of the road races have been
100 if you
day of.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And then a lot of the races have been in the ballpark of, we'll just say roughly $50. A lot of these races used to be closer to like $30. So I think that the low hanging obvious fruit there is going to be inflation. Yeah, inflation across the board. Everything's more expensive, so it's going to cost you more to put it on. But it just seems like it's gone up quite a bit more. What are some of the reasons that are leading to that?
I would argue that
Chinese
road
tariffs.
racing is not expensive.
It's Trump's fault.
Chinese tariffs.
Yeah.
It's killing us.
I would argue that road racing is not expensive. It's the most expensive of the formats to put on.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's got the most cost associated with it, and for some reason the cost of entry to a road race has not kept pace with the cost of, let's say, gravel races.
Yeah, it used to not be as prohibitive in terms of like just the cost for like the permits and the flaggers and all of the other things like outhouses. All those things used to not cost quite as much.
It's police and flaggers that end
that
up
have
costing
gone up
much. Yeah,
way up. And then like actually getting all the permits and the insurances, all that stuff has gone up as well. Again, inflation across the board. But when you compare it, what it costs to put on, say, like a gravel race, it's far more for a road race than gravel, but the gravel has cost a lot more in terms of like what it costs to go and to do a race. Like we were talking about the Goldendale?
Goldendale,
the gravel race. What is that, like $85 or $90 to do that race?
It's a Grand Fondo, so
it's not even a race.
It doesn't even have any. They didn't post results.
Well, they do post results.
Do they? Yes, okay, they do. But
yeah, because you can race it if you want. You do get a result, and people that go out there.
But it's not am I getting this right? It's not sanctioned. It's not like an Ober race. It's
Correct.
not a WSBA race.
Correct, but they still give you a result.
Yeah,
so.
and you get a T-shirt. That's usually on the gravel races. They throw in a few extras,
some swag or
a
something.
T-shirt or a bottle or a cup or something.
But get this: when Lance and I were down in Arizona, both of those races were like $180 or so for 3 days, and you got nothing. You got a paper number.
So you
paper
get
number.
3
period.
races over that, so you're paying $60 a race.
But one of them was like a 10-minute time trial.
Sure.
Yeah. But then look around. They had cops in the lead vehicles for each one of those groups out on the road.
Sure.
They had cops doing traffic control. They had like 50, 60 porta potties. It's such a huge production.
Mm-hmm.
So much more involved in putting a race on public roads than off road. And so I don't know. I think as a promoter, people should pay more to enter these races. Really,
100% agree.
Yeah,
I feel like at this point, like I'm really comparing this to like running decent sized races and triathlons. And like road cycling has not kept up. I don't know. The promoters are there. It's a business. They need to make money. They're not doing it. I mean, yes, they love the sport. They're trying to promote the sport and all this stuff. But like, it still can be a business. And those are when you have that, you're going to have a successful company that's leading the way, that's like making some money out of it. So they're willing to push hard for these races. And that can make the whole sport more successful. I don't think you would talk to like a triathlon, or like a running race company that's going to go touch any race that's under $70 for a fee. Like there's no margin there. Like
Sure.
what are they doing? They're like, why would we do that? We should be charging $150 for these races. So, and yeah, we're going to provide you with t-shirts and all this swag, and like you're going to love it, and you're going to get a medal and all the crap. But like they know how to do that and make money.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like road promotional pieces are a little bit more amateur. And I say that like,
no, it's true.
Offending. I know I'm offending the people at the table, but like you're doing it more because you're like helping the sport. And
road, that's what I was about to say. Is road races, putting on road races, still pretty much a grassroots type of thing. You rely on the community, you rely on people's loyalty, to show up even if really they don't want to because the weather's
poo-poo.
You know the promoter. You help out. Like these road races rely on an army of volunteers, people coming out to donate their time. So it's a lot more grassrootsy than, say, I feel at least, than the gravel scene, which is more seems to be put on as a commercial enterprise.
I think right now though there is a challenge. I mean, yeah, the simple quick answer is like, raise prices. Go from $50 to $100. But how is that going to affect things if you've already got like a smaller pool of people that are wanting to come out, and if they're going to feel like they're being charged even more, they're like, I don't know if that's going to be worth it. Or maybe instead of doing 5 races, I'm just going to do 1 or 2, and I'm just going to pick the ones that are going to suit me best, and I'll show up to those so that I spend the same amount of money because
you can only charge as much as people are willing to pay.
True, and I think that's kind of where we're at right now. People are afraid to raise the prices even more because they're already dealing with a small pool of people.
But it's not like a black or white, like charge a ton or charge little. There's so much gray area. There's all kinds of stuff you could do. You could even have like early entry is $75 or $60.
Yeah.
Late entry is $125. Like the people that are probably, I'm just going to say like me, maybe Lance or whatever, we're looking at the weather. We're like, oh man,
But does that get you fishing in a bigger pond? I mean, if your pond is only so big with so many fish and you're captivating is a good percentage of all those fish, are you going to get even more people, or is that going to enable you to go to a bigger pond with more fish to get more people to come in?
I think that's a good question, because there's probably a lot of people that are like, well, I'm not going to sign up for this race early no matter what. And then if I sign up late, it's like $125. So they're just maybe not going to do it. I don't know. But I also think that as a promoter, like there's real value in having your early entries
100%,
figured out. And the bumping the price up is a way to kind of discourage people from waiting too long.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't disagree with you.
It's hard to set a price really, because at the end of the day, you don't know how many are going to show up, and it depends on a lot of things. One of the biggest thing is the weather.
Yeah.
So if you have 50 people less than you thought you would have show up, that can turn a reasonable profit into a loss.
Gotcha.
Nobody wants to lose their shirt on
well, like
especially all the work you put in.
Yeah, any business venture, you want it to be successful, and there's very few that actually go out there with the intent of just breaking even. I mean, teams will sometimes put on something just with the mindset of like, at least if we break even, we're happy to do this year over year. And you don't want to even see that, for instance. I mean, you would love to see a team be able to make a few bucks, put that into their coffer so that they can do team related things or take care of people or help them on some way or another. But for a promoter, that's kind of a for-profit thing. And a lot of people don't understand how much time and energy goes into making that happen leading up to it. And then the actual day itself, there's a ton of like angst and stress and anxiety because you want everything to go off without a T, and you're also worried that you're going to get enough numbers. And then when it's all said and done, like if you look back and you're like, oh, that's great, I made $500 in my pocket. Well, how many hours did I put in for all of that? If it works out to I made like 75 cents an hour, that's not worth it, and that's not going to be sustainable, and that's not going to be something that person's going to want to continue to do. So being able to have them create like a living wage, that's super important. So let me ask you a question. Like, what are some ways that we can make that be less of a problem for the promoter, where they can actually they can eat from what they're doing here? The simple answer is like, get more people to come out and race. Well, yes, that's of course that needs to happen. But on the flip side of that, well, what are the expenses that go into putting on a race, and how can we mitigate some of those, or where do we need to be asking questions, or how can we do better to lower that that barrier of at least starting the process of doing a race, knowing that, right, if it's going to cost me $3,000 to put on this race, where's all that money going? And how can I maybe get that down to $2,000 so that there's an extra $1,000 that I can keep in my pocket, or maybe throw towards like a little bit of advertising and marketing to get more people to come out? Like, what goes into a race? You've coming fresh off of doing the Michael Myers Memorial Time Trial. You're getting ready to put on the Barton Park, road race. What are some expenses that you have to incur just in order to have that venue set aside for you and know that you've got the manpower to make it happen?
Yeah. Well, the biggest biggest expense is your traffic control. Luckily, I've teamed up with Flagmaster Racing, Dave Flanagan.
Fantastic people, by the way. And if you're in the Pacific Northwest and you're putting on bike races, hit those guys up.
Yep, they're good.
They're totally reliable and do a great job. But however, like a road race, you could conceivably need 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
However many flaggers, that's expensive.
Yeah.
Next issue, public bathrooms, porta potties. That's massively expensive. And thirdly is your permits and what you got to pay. Well, thirdly is your permits, what you have to pay the local municipalities to get permission to put on the race. And lastly, you pay your sanctioning body.
Yeah, a percentage of every person that registers. Yeah. Let me start at the top real quick. Let's talk about flaggers. When I first started racing here in the Pacific Northwest and under Orbra, I got to know some of the promoters, pretty early on, and they kind of give me a glimpse behind the curtains to see what was going on. When they put on a race, they used to just put out an ad on Craigslist to pay somebody $10 or $12 an hour to stand there and just hold a flag, and they would tell them what to do. And for the most part, it worked out pretty well. You find a decent person and you start to build a little network, and you can rely on them, and they come out, make some money, and you pay them, cash them out at the end of the day and buy them some lunch, and they're happy as a clam to go out there and do that kind of stuff. Or you had like people on your team that would come from the teams and volunteer to do that stuff. Things changed, and the municipalities started to say, no, you have to have certified flaggers, and they have to, come from, this kind of an organization. You can't just go find any Tom, Dick, or Harry. So you could send your own people off to get certified, but that was, again, a cost, and it was time and all that other stuff. So it went from being like $10 or $12 an hour to, what is it now, like $45 or $50 an hour per flagger. And then sometimes you've got 5, 6, 7 flaggers out on course, and you're out there for God knows how many hours. That gets expensive really fast. So people start to say, well, if I'm going to do this, then I need to find a route that's going to work, that's going to not have a bunch of intersections, and that narrows things down and gets really difficult. So
that's part of it is designing a good route where, everybody's riding right-hand corners.
Sure.
Right.
But still, like Barton Park, I think we need 6 or 7 flaggers, and that adds up.
Sure.
Barton Park also going to the bathroom thing. So later on in the season, that's usually included. You get your permit for the park, and then the bathrooms are open. So
for the Michael Myers Memorial Time Trial, there are bathrooms out there where we stage up, and we pay the city. We paid both the city and like the Parks and Rec department. Weren't there multiple layers to the permits that we had to pay?
3 permits.
3 different permits that we had to pay for like the city, the county, and I think the park itself, which is kind of ridiculous if you ask me. And that's on top of paying your taxes to, make all this stuff happen. But that's another point.
And all the fees they collect from people going into the park.
Every person that drives in there pays $3 to park. So they're making money every which way to Sunday there. The thing that really burns me up, though, is you're paying for all this stuff. You're paying for the, like your taxes, and you're paying for all these permits. You're paying for people to come in. They can't, quote unquote, de-winterize the bathrooms by turning on the water so that you can have somebody go in there and flush a toilet. Instead, you have to use outhouses. And in years past, they would have 2 outhouses there that they would kind of quasi-maintain. Well, that 2 went from 1, and that 1 was absolutely disgusting. And Ian, thankfully had the foresight to make sure that we had enough toilets out there. We probably could have got away with 1 less, but that would have been somebody was dealing with the big giant bomb that somebody left on the ground. And I don't want to get into specifics, but anyway, long story short, we ended up having to have 2 outhouses out there, and those cost how much per outhouse? $220 per. So we paid $440 to have 2 outhouses out there for half a day.
Yes.
So think about that. That's 12 entries, right?
Yeah.
Just to pay for the outhouses.
Sure. And then you got all the other stuff. I mean, it just starts to add up.
It's prohibitive, definitely. So how can we save on costs?
Yeah, and then
Good
you've
question.
got your city
Wear
too.
diapers.
Does
All spectators will be wearing diapers in 2026.
Brought to you by Depends.
There you go. And then lastly, just to touch back on the bit for the permits and all that other stuff, like we already are like the public, this is something that's good for the public, and we are already paying for all this stuff. Do they need to charge that many layers, and do they need to charge as much as they are? And in the grand scheme of things, it's not a huge amount of money, but is that something that they need to do? I personally don't think so, because again, these are people that for the most part live in your community, that live in your county, that are already like tax paying people, paying property taxes and sales taxes and all these other things that pool into that to support this entity. And if we didn't have events out there, then it would never, it's just like it's moot. It's not a big deal. They're just trying to make money to make money. One last point, and then I'll let you jump in here. I could understand if a promoter was coming out there and they're putting on a one-day race and they're making $100,000 and just killing it using the resources of the county, the city, and the parks, and the parks wasn't charging anything. As a matter of fact, they were losing money in the process. I am all for that promoter making gobs of money. Great, because that's good for all of us because we have something to go do. But I don't think that the city needs to necessarily penalize us for that. But in the same breath, I also don't want to see the city, the park, and all the other stuff be upside down. They should be of a mindset of like, all right, let's make sure that we just break even. Like I'm good with that. But to make more money, it's like, why?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to answer that. The money you put into buying a permit goes into the general fund. It's not one bucket for events.
What about
usually? And it's also hard for.
You said there's 3 permits. It's a permit to get a permit. And then there's the final permit to conclude your permit.
Yeah,
it's different agencies.
No, it's different wherever you put a race on. But it's something like a road race. So I can see that it's hard for like a county council to see the
value,
what's in it for them, kind of thing. If you stage a criterium and it's downtown, like the race we had in Bend last year that is on again actually in June, right?
It is on again in June.
It brings something to the community.
Sure.
It's a day out. Local businesses do well. It's something to promote your community, but it's hard to see if you got a bunch of guys out on some country lanes in the middle of nowhere, and then it's hard to see what's in it for them.
Okay, but how's it hurting them?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I know.
So I mean, and that's a very subjective question to ask.
You put in your permit application alongside permits for construction and various projects. There's no real there's nothing that differentiates you to everybody else.
I don't have a problem like applying for a permit. Just A, so that they know that you're going to be out there. B, so you're like abiding by the rules. And C, because you're not taking advantage of anything or anyone or any property or anything of that nature. Like that kind of keeps everybody like on the up and up. But in the same respect, I don't think that they need to like charge us more than they have to. And I kind of feel like they are. So that's my 2 cents. But I don't know.
Yeah.
As you guys are talking, I'm looking up the costs for different things to register for, because Ian's race, the Barton Park race, it's only $50 to register, for that race. We look at Mike Ripley, who does mudslinger events, his gravel races. Now, granted, gravel races, I think it's a supply and demand issue is my thought. There's more people that want to do these gravel races than want to do the road races. But to do one of Mike Ripley's gravel races, it's $150 for the day.
It's $100 difference.
It's $100 difference. To do one of Breakaway Promotions, one of Chad Sperry's races, the Gorge Gravel Grinder or the Cascade Gravel Grinder, it's $185. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, those 2 guys are probably the biggest and well-run promoters on the West Coast or in the Western United States. They're very good promoters, and their events are in demand, for sure. And so I can see why they would want to charge more for that, but or why. And they're both doing it as their full-time business.
Yeah. Now, if the numbers start to slide a little bit, maybe there's some a big surge in the road racing scene, and all of a sudden a lot of people are going back to road, and then they see their numbers dip down 10, 15, 20, 30%, whatever it is. Do you think that there would be a response to that with respect to like a supply and demand issue, and the costs would come down? So
that's basic economics.
Yeah.
That would happen.
And so that's my point. That's great that they're able to do that. But in their defense, they're putting on a good show.
They are.
That's a great,
great events.
You know what you're going to get. It's very consistent. It's well thought out. It's going to be a good experience, and it's going to cost you a few bucks for that. And these are people that's what they're doing. That is their livelihood. They put on X number of races per year. That's how they, keep a roof over their heads and feed their families and all the fun things in between. I'm all for that. Yeah. And if that's too much for some people, then either A, don't do it, or just B, do less of them, but still go do them and have fun. But the road side of things,
road race promoters should be able to make money too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Like myself, I'm not doing that professionally, but I am retired. I do want to make some money on the side.
Sure, it's going to be worth your time.
And so that was one motivation for putting on Barton Park Road Race, for example.
Sure.
The other one was to show that you, as a promoter, you can make money from a road race.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I wanted to show, in the hope that it would encourage others to jump in as well.
Sure.
And we did end up making a little bit last year, and so that objective achieved in that way. But it could have quite easily have gone the other way too. So, and a lot of it comes down to setting the right price point, right?
Yeah.
Not too high that you're going to discourage people from coming, and not too low that you're going to lose your shot.
Yeah. So to answer the actual question, the initial question of the topic is, why are road races getting so expensive? Well, it's because they have to in order for them to survive. But the sub question that I had is, do they need to get that expensive? Probably, but they shouldn't be necessarily. But let me just be a little bit more concise here. They should be that expensive. They should be more. Your Barton Park Road Race should probably cost $60 or $75. However, I also, in the same breath, think that all of the different people that are putting their hands in your pockets to take advantage of that, to make money for whatever reason, they need to charge a little bit less. And I get it. Like if you're a sewage company that does these outhouses or whatever, and you're trying to make money, like, do you really need to charge $440 for 2 outhouses? I don't know. I mean, is that what the going rate is? I don't know how to get around it, but I still think that, and then the municipalities, they don't need to charge as much as they do. Like I want to see somebody like Ian be successful, and I don't want you to be working on these razor thin margins. It's like, crap, I lost $100, or, that was a lot of work and I made $200. That's great. But no, you should be making a lot more than that. Not because you're greedy, because you need to put a few bucks in for your efforts so that you keep continuing to do this. So, they should get more expensive. However, the costs that are associated with them need to come down. That's just my 2 cents. I don't know.
Yeah. And we've just got to attract enough people to make it pay off.
Yeah.
Because I don't think those costs will come down. And it's basically a reflection of all kinds of projects, enterprise projects. Like if you're trying to build onto your house, there's people in your pocket trying to skim off some of that all the time.
Yep.
There's the permits, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing.
For the people out there, I definitely think that you need to do everything you can to support these promoters. Go out there and sign up early, do your races, because it's only going to benefit Ian, and that's going to allow him to do so much more that you're not even thinking about. Like if Ian was able to go to some of the bigger people that we work with, the brands or the entities, and say, hey, I've got 350 people pre-registered. We think we might be able to get this thing up to 500 or 600 people. That's going to capture their attention. He's going to be able to get better swag. He might be able to get some sponsorship money. He might be able to get some better prizes. He might be able to get you some cool things so that you have an even better experience. And what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If you support them, it will ultimately come back to you in a bunch of different ways. So I think that that's something that people forget about as well. So
sign up for Barton Park Road Race.
Turn into a big advertisement.
It's only $50.
It's only $50.
It's too cheap.
Yeah.
Raise your prices.
Yeah. Tip them if you can. So, all right, let's move on. Unless you guys have anything else to add to that, let's move on to the new tech that just came out. That's the second part of our little topic thing here.
A couple things came out.
Matt, hit us.
Well, Garmin came out. Well, okay, so I actually need to ask Jake about some of this stuff, because the truth is I haven't touched any of this tech.
Yeah.
Garmin came out with a front headlight / camera something. It's called I want to call it the Garmin Varia View.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, and so, we're all familiar with the Garmin Varia radar that sits on the back of your bike. It's something that I use every time I ride. I'll turn around and go back and get it if I forget it. The front camera, priced at I want to say $530 or $550, something like that.
$549 if I'm not mistaken.
That's spendy stuff right there. I don't know. This is tricky because I think it's going to be a harder one. Hopefully I'm going to get the chance to review it, but I think it's a harder value proposition. I think, again, radar is like probably the one piece of tech, like all the watches, all the stuff that I review. Radar's the one thing I'm just like, just shut up and go buy it. Like, just sure, you got to have this.
Do you care if it has a video camera or not? It just needs to be the radar?
It needs to be the radar. The radar's the most important part. I like having the camera built in because, again, like the fear is that you're going to get knocked off the road or whatever by a car, and it's just nice to have license plates. But
how often do you go out for a ride and you have your radar, but you don't have any kind of front-facing light that's flashing or just making you a little bit more apparent to motorists?
Very frequently. Like most of my rides, I don't have
that. Okay.
I'm a big, like, I've become more and more safety oriented as I've gotten older. And I've also just like cared less about my bike being like sleek and aerodynamic and all that stuff. When I first started cycling, I was really into like just having everything like
go
perfect.
hard, go fast, and look good. Yep.
And it was great. And I appreciate that time that I had. But now I'm like, okay, you know, I will say that handlebar space is a bit of a premium. So adding another element to it, again, this device is going to should sit underneath your computer. Theoretically, it's basically a GoPro mount with a large-ish, I don't exactly remember the exact weight, but front light. I want to say
it's 199 grams,
600 to 800.
It's a lot. It's more than a GoPro camera.
Yeah, it's pretty hefty.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, this is not something you would race with. It's something that you would use for training and
what are you talking about? I'm racing with my GoPro every time.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. But yeah, so I think that this is a harder sell to me than like a rear radar for sure. That being said, I'm still excited to potentially check it out and see how it goes. I do think that people should be riding a front light. I think it's good for us to be more visible on the road, even during the daytime. Yeah. I mean, you can just see a bike significantly further away if there's a light on it.
Yeah.
And it's definitely one of those things where, again, going back to the like, would you turn around and go back for it? If I had forgot a front light, I would not turn around and go back for it.
Probably not.
But, you know, I would for the rear radar.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I have been pretty consistent about using some sort of flashing light on the front of my bike.
Right.
In the last, it's coming up on 7 years since I got hit by the car. I'm like, all right, anything that I can do to make myself a little bit more apparent visible to anybody that's coming at me, I'm going to put that on my bike. So I've been using that Raveman, which mounts underneath your bike computer. So between the bike or the computer mount and the computer itself, it just kind of like sandwiches in there.
I have two of those. Yeah. One of them's like version 1 and version 2. The version 2 is like a little bit brighter, a little bit thicker.
There's a 300 and a 600 if I'm not mistaken.
That's a great little tool.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take up a lot of handlebar space.
It takes up none. It just really just lifts your computer up a little bit, and it's pretty light. So it doesn't really it's not a weight penalty, and they last for a good amount of time. I mean, I think you can get about 4 or 5 hours out of one battery charge on them. So
depends on what you're doing with it, right?
Yeah, so it's just another battery to charge up.
Yeah,
well, that's true. Got my charging station. Everything just gets plugged in when I go back. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But going back to that Garmin, they did kind of like answer a lot of the problems that they had with the rear facing camera. Mm-hmm. So you've now got a 4K camera, whereas before I was at 1080p.
Yes,
I think so. And then so the front it's 4K at 30 frames per second, which is pretty good. And then it is stabilized.
Yeah, image stabilization was an issue.
If you use the stabilization, you're not really getting 4K because they're going to crop
just a touch.
Yeah,
but I don't know if that's
not a big deal.
I don't know if it's actually bigger than 4K and they're cropping down to 4K.
It's the other way around. Okay, it is 4K, and if you use stabilization, it crops in on that 4K.
Probably like 2.7 or something like that, or 270.
Probably more than that. Somewhere in the middle. It's like a random weird number, but still, like, and to me, that doesn't like. More pixels is better, so cropping is not a big deal. Getting it stabilized is good. Yeah. You want to be able to read license plate is the main thing for this. I think this is going to fall into the wheelhouse of like, if you're bought in on the whole Garmin ecosystem and you want to be safer on the road and you're not shell shocked by the price, then sure.
It's like $550.
$550.
Yeah.
I mean, because here's the thing, you can probably get a very good GoPro or any of the other action cameras and a light that are compatible with the same metrics that this one has for at least, I don't know, $100 less than this thing.
So, yeah, if not more. I think if you are not like the person that needs to have the absolute latest and greatest, say GoPro, if that's the land that you want to play in with cameras, you can always go to places like, Best Buy and Costco. They've always got the one that seems like it's on sale because there's a new one coming, and you can get them for like $289 or something like that, or you can find them online for around that price, and they usually sell for about $400-ish.
$400 to $500.
Light-wise,
that's brand new. But like you said, you can get, if you were to get last season's model, you can get something for $200.
And then as far as the light's concerned, depending upon how many
$100 light is a good light.
It's a great light. You can get something from Zion,
and
or
you can
get
probably
something
get
from
something brighter than this. I want to say this is like
500.
600 to 800 lumens or something.
I think it's only 500.
I think it's more than that, but it's not much more than that. Either way, you can get some bright lights.
Yeah. So anyway, you can definitely do that. It's not one little concise package. It's not going to have a video camera in there that that does some of the things with the the incident detection
stuff,
and
incident detection. Yeah. That's true. There's other little things too, like being able to control the light from your Garmin computer.
Correct.
So there's really cool things about this. I still think it's a bit of a hard sell.
Yeah. Like the radar, when I first heard that, I'm like, that sounds cool, but is that gimmicky? Yeah. And then I started using it and going, oh my gosh, I need to have this. And I've been using them since they very first came out, when it was that little box looking thing.
Me too.
And I've used every iteration since then, and I absolutely love them. And I, like Matt, do not want to leave home without them.
Yeah.
The light, I don't know. The jury's out. We've got a bunch of them coming into the lab. They might even be there. I need to. We're not currently recording at the lab, but I will find out later today. They'll be either here today or tomorrow. But anyway, long story short, we've got a bunch coming in. We've got one that I've pulled aside for us to demonstrate or demo.
Cool.
Lance and myself and you and Ian, we can all use it and kind of
try it and see what
report back and let people know what we think. But for $550,
I know that's a lot.
Some people, that's like, who cares? It's just a cool thing that I want to throw some money at, because it's going to provide me a light, and it's going to be a cool camera and one little, tidy package that just fits underneath my my computer. And good to go.
I feel like that when I do a lot of these reviews. I feel like, I look at a price and I'm like, oh, this is too much or too little or whatever. Everyone's price sensitivity is different. Mm-hmm. Everyone that's looking at it. And so they're going to have to use their best judgment, and hopefully we'll get the chance to review it and see what we think. But yeah, I think it's a hard sell at this point compared to the rear radar for sure. Mm-hmm. Other announcement, which was just today as of the podcast, Wahoo announced 2 new cycling computers, the Wahoo Roam 3.
Updates on computers.
They're new computers.
But they're new computers, yeah.
It's the Roam 3 and the Bolt 3. And what it looks like to me is that this is a hardware bump, and it's basically a bit of a hardware bump to get everything within the same ecosystem. There's actually not new features being announced on this hardware. So screen, all these things, they're all color screens. The new Roam is a touchscreen. The Bolt is not a touchscreen. The Roam gets some features from the Wahoo Ace, like you can do the double tap to get the bell.
Nice.
And it's a slightly larger screen. It was 2.7, now it's 2.8.
Yep.
And slight increase in weight on both of those devices as well. So not a huge update, but the software side of things is all being basically it's being kind of falling in line with what they did with the Wahoo Ace computer, which was a whole new. They basically restarted the whole software system from scratch.
Yes,
wrote that from scratch, tried to port over all of the old features, and it took basically, I would say, 3, 4, 5 months or whatever that they've been working on getting feature parity from that device to what they had before with all the Roam and the Bolt and all the stuff. It's taken them a long time. So a lot of people have been like, well, the Ace, it came out, it was half baked or whatever, and they've just had such a hard time getting all of the feature parity with the previous devices. They're finally there, and now they're bringing these other 2 devices into the same wheelhouse, so that they'll all be on the same software system.
So here's a question for you, Matt. I'm kind of curious. Why release all this information today and tell everybody, and you can buy it a month from now?
Good question. And this is a valid answer.
That's weird.
Wahoo says that the reason they're announcing now is because their stock is empty. They're basically out of old stuff, and they don't want people being like, hey, what's going on? We can't get devices, and then announce a month later.
So they stopped selling the old stuff, or actually stopped producing the old stuff, sold out of them. And then they've announced this in hopes that people that are coming into the springtime will wait and buy their new units through Wahoo as opposed to jumping on the Garmin or Brighton or whatever computer line that they're talking about. So that begs the question, are they late to bring this out and they're having more software issues, kind of like they had with the Ace, and that was supposed to launch a lot sooner than it actually did and came out half-baked?
I think that's a safe bet, or it could be something. I would probably lean towards manufacturing issues, and we're all dealing with this whole tariff thing.
Sure.
Supposedly the Garmin Lite that we were all talking about earlier, supposedly that thing was supposed to cost significantly less, but then all these tariff announcements, they're like
bump it up.
They bumped. I don't know what it was. It was probably $50 or something like that.
That's about right.
Yeah. And so who knows what's going on? I'm guessing that they're potentially having like production issues that would maybe cause this delay of like being able to do this. The other thing that they could be doing is saying like, hey, we have new cycling computers. We know that Garmin's going to announce something in the near future, and not want to be, they don't want to be like second fiddle to Garmin, which I think a lot of these tech companies do that. They have a lot of insider information. I see this with like these AI companies all the time where they're like, they know that OpenAI is going to make an announcement, so they announce something the day before or whatever it is, just so that they're not
Take
kind
a
of
little
like
wind out of the sails.
Yeah. I mean, it's a competitive marketplace, right?
Definitely. And I really quite like the Wahoo products. I think they're fantastic.
Yeah, I think we all do.
They've had some missteps though, and I think that they are trying to figure that part of things out. But
well, the Wahoo Ace was, I think, a blunder as far as product launches go.
They've fixed all those issues though.
But
they've all been fixed.
Yeah, but it's not a bad device.
There was.
I think the Roam is going to be the one to get.
Yeah. Matt was the one that let me know. I know all the things that are coming out. Did they announce the other thing, or do we need to hold off on that?
They have a radar.
Okay,
that
so
they also announced.
Okay, there we go.
So it's got a couple features that they. This is a good question. I don't know that much about this radar, but again, it is a Wahoo cycling radar. We are big fans of radars. This one does a couple of things to save battery life. Like you can have it set to only blink the light when there's traffic, which I would use.
Sure.
And also, it has one other like. I feel like it has another, battery saving piece to it that it can do. I can't remember what it is. So a couple of tiny little things. And again, this is another situation where it's like, we're getting sprinkles of information. Everything's kind of half baked at this point. It doesn't seem like their stuff has been finalized yet. Software has definitely not been finalized. So we don't know.
Before in the past, we probably could have spoken to this to a little bit more detail, giving you a little bit more of a wink and a nudge to kind of push you in a certain direction. But it seems like all of the different brands have really tightened up on their information that they're just putting out there. So, which is fine.
Well, but you and I have reviewed products that are like, especially like radars that are half baked as far as software development goes. And it's such a nightmare to be like, well, it's not, you're like, this doesn't work. It didn't show traffic when there was traffic. Like that's a big no-no.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, here, get the next version. And then they have some other problem. And it's like, well, then the next version. You're like, geez, just give me the finalized version.
Yeah.
And if it's crap, we need to let people know because the radar stuff is kind of, we rely on it. We rely on it when we're on the roads.
Sure.
So anyway, I'm excited to see if Wahoo can do a solid piece of work with the radar system. And then I have no idea on the price of that. Do you remember?
I don't recall.
But it's got to be in line with what Garmin has. And this is not a camera. Wait, does it record? I can't remember. Well, I'll look it up.
Yeah. It's probably going to be in that $200 price point. But again, I would just be guessing.
Yeah.
I should know these things and whatnot. I just haven't put the brain power to it because I knew that it wasn't going to physically come out for a whole nother month. And the fact that they announced everything today, I can't remember
May 9th or something like that.
So it's about a month from now. So
it's a while.
Yeah. Anyway, good stuff.
Yeah. New stuff.
Lance, Ian, do you guys have thoughts on all that stuff?
I'm excited for it.
What are you going to do?
I'll get a Roam.
You get a Roam.
I'll get a Roam
because it's kind of like the Wahoo Ace, but like smaller
and the touchscreens are good because I used the Wahoo Ace for like 2 months and I actually quite loved it, except for how gigantic it was and it snapped my mount.
One thing that's different, it's not going to have the aero meter. I know I'm using the wrong
wind
term.
meter.
Wind meter.
Yeah, it doesn't have a wind gauge in it.
So I think that's okay because from what I've heard, no one cares.
Did they disclose prices in that launch information?
$449 and $349 or something like that.
So it's kind of in line with the Garmin lineup, if you will.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Well, Anything else?
I think the big thing with this is going to be screen brightness comparison. When you're looking at some of the new stuff from Garmin, in particular the 1050, that screen is very bright and vibrant, and even pretty much in direct sunlight, it's still pretty good. Whereas this screen from Wahoo, it'll be interesting to see how it compares. We've all liked Wahoo's contrast that they have provided us when we're out in direct sunlight.
Yeah.
And different screen technologies are different. I don't know, the Wahoo Ace, how was that one? Because that's the same screen technology. It's good.
Yeah, it was bright enough. It worked well.
Direct sunlight, you weren't getting too much glare?
Nope.
What about with polarized sunglasses? Were you getting any kind
no weirdness with polarized sunglasses.
Cool. Sweet.
Yeah, it was good.
All right. Believe it or not, we still have one last thing. Let's make it one last fast thing and run around the table real quick. Matt, what you got?
One last thing, video coming out as soon as I can get back on the editing floor. Apple Watch bands, do they cause cancer? Do they have forever chemicals, plastics that are leaching into your skin?
Die.
That's what I say in the video. That editing has taken me forever.
Yeah.
I have this edit of like the watch melting into a person's skin. It's just ridiculous.
Matt's put secret sauce
even
on
if you
this,
don't care about this topic, go watch the video because I've spent way too much time editing this video, and I hope that someone watches it. It's going to get, we talked about this before the podcast. It's one of those videos where I put too much effort into it and it gets like 5 views. The 5 of us.
Right.
5 of us and one listener. And my mom. My mom will check it out.
Thousands of views.
My mom does not watch my videos, actually.
Yeah. Gibbo, what you got? One last thing, bud.
Okay, we've already been talking about this, but Barton Park Road Race is coming up Saturday, May the 10th, out at Barton Park.
Where do people go to sign up?
You can go to obra.org, schedule. That'll give you a link to my website, dialperformancecoaching.com, and then under events, you'll see Barton Park.
All right.
Importantly, on that webpage, there's a link to volunteer. I really need volunteers. It would be great if some of my teammates could step up. Last year we did great. A lot of people signed up, and I'm really hoping for a good showing again this year. In particular, I need drivers. So if you think you can spare a couple of hours on that date and just drive a car in front or behind one of the packs out on the road, that'd be fantastic.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Epler.
This weekend, we have Bone Crusher mountain bike race in Madras, Oregon. So I have been given clearance already to go to Bone Crusher. Saturday will be short track races, and Sunday will be the cross country races. They're only $40 each.
Ooh, raise your prices. Raise your prices,
this is
Racer.
Zone 5
Will your kids
promotions.
come over and help take care of your lovely wife?
I think she's going to be okay enough by then that she won't need a whole lot from me. So I'm going to go down there and get my ass kicked again. Because
Heyo.
that's the way Cat 150 Plus feels. Yeehaw. Okay, that's it.
All right, well, one last thing is my coffee lease is up, so the show is over because I got things to do. We will be back next week with another one of these, and until then, bye for now.
This because of the dire situation I'm in, but can I hump your leg for 15 uninterrupted seconds?
I suppose so, Brian. I said you could do it for 15 seconds.
Didn't need it.